Hi, hello, and welcome to our interview today at BeritaSatu. Today we have with us Mr. Chuen Chuen Khor, who is the Chief Operating Officer of SAP Southeast Asia. Hello, Mr. Khor, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you, Jeremy?
I'm doing quite well, thank you very much. Today we're going to be talking about the businesses and how they're doing in Southeast Asia. And I understand that ACP has recently done a survey on Southeast Asia. And if you could give us a little bit of a background to the survey itself, what kind of data were you guys using? What are some of the variables that were taken into account into the survey?
Yes, thanks, Jeremy. And thanks for having me in the first place.
Yeah, so it's our pleasure.
This is a very interesting week. We had our first ever fully virtual 3-day long customer event. We call it the SAP Forward Together 2020. So we have about more than 6,000 regional business leaders registered for the event across Southeast Asia. And as part of the registration, we did a poll. We got their feedback about the state of the economy and how the business is doing and their views about the future. And the result has been pretty interesting. So 60% of the regional business leaders polled have seen changes in the market and changes in the way customer purchase and customers' motivation. And they have taken steps, concrete steps, to pivot their business model and try to take advantage of the changes in the market condition. But what is more interesting is the remaining 40%. 40% of the regional business leaders and exactly 40% as well of those respondents from Indonesia are taking a wait and see approach. In short, they are not doing anything at the moment in response to COVID-19. Now, faced with such uncertainties, conventional wisdom would have told all of us, just hunker down and wait out the storm. That's not a surprise, right? But studies have shown that over the 4 downturns since 1985, 14% of businesses have managed to emerge from the downturn with a stronger top line and bottom line growth. That means these 14% of companies were able to get ready to reset for the rebound the moment market recovers. So the question then is, what differentiates these 14% of the companies from the rest? The key is that not only you need, during the market downturn, not only you need to conserve cash and to cut costs. You have to do that, no doubt.
Right.
But you have to also judiciously reallocate resources and continue to invest in the long-term growth area that you all along had in mind.
Right.
And these companies...
It's also adapting into the current situation that we're facing, yes?
Absolutely.
Right.
So
and before we move on with what are some of the changes that they had to make, what kind of adaptations they have to make. Let's talk a little bit about the changes that you mentioned a little bit earlier, right? You said that you had an online event and you gathered 6,000 people and whatnot. You told them that the market is going through some changes. Can you explain to us a little bit about what are the changes that we see amongst this COVID-19 situation?
Right. In fact, 80% of the business leaders polled have said that they have seen changes in COVID-19's impact on their business. Only 1% are expecting business as usual in the long term.
Right.
So COVID-19 has spared nobody, no businesses, regardless of companies big or small. And there are many examples of changes.
Right.
For one, working from home. How do you manage the welfare of your employees, the emotional well-being of your employees, and making sure that they are continuously trained and be ready for the changes that is coming down the road? Or, for that matter, supply chain disruption. Companies are struggling to find alternative resources because their suppliers couldn't supply in time or in the right quantity at the right location that they want. All these changes are affecting businesses in every single country.
And then going back to what you said a little bit earlier about adaptations that these companies have to make, what are some of the examples that you can share with us, the adaptations that these companies and businesses need to take to be able to survive?
Yes. In fact, the key takeaway from the event is companies need to take action now. Companies need to innovate and transform now during the downturn. And what does it take to innovate and transform? There are a couple of key strategies you can employ to innovate and transform. First, you need to rely on real business insights by being data-driven with end-to-end process digitalization through intelligent technologies such as machine learning, robotic process automations, artificial intelligence, and you also need to better understand your customers and digitally engage your customers. And last but not least, when you engage your customer, and that's where your front office is, you need to make sure your front office is integrated with your back office so that what you promise your client, you are able to deliver at the end of the day. And if you can do all these things, you are one step closer to becoming the intelligent enterprise.
Right.
And if you like, I can give you an example.
Yes, please. We would love examples to just kind of see what it's like.
So some companies in the market are doing very well in understanding their customers and responding to changing customers' needs. One good example is Gojek. I think Gojek is a very familiar example, right?
Right.
So Gojek is able to collect experience data throughout the life cycle of both their customers and their employees. Mm-hmm. Now, when I say life cycle, what I mean is for a customer, it is from the point of researching for a potential product to buy the product and consuming the product, or for an employee from recruitment to exit. And companies like Gojek are able to collect such experience data, combine it with operational or transaction data, thereby gaining real business insights, telling them how to improve their products and be able to continuously innovate and transform, giving customer the ultimate user experience. That is key.
Right. It's about gathering the data and the information, right? As you said earlier about, what is their user experience like? What do they want and whatnot? And you also mentioned that, your front office and your back office also need to meet, right? You need to be able to deliver what you promised, essentially. Do we see that kind of example in Gojek as well, like where we understand that they've been able to effectively gather the information, but if you can give us some examples of what are the changes that Gojek were able to make through gathering the information?
Actually, the challenges that Gojek face is not that much different from the rest of the industries and the rest of the clients that we have seen. SAP, we focus on 25 industries, and we have thousands of customers in Southeast Asia. In fact, 1,500 in Indonesia alone. And all these customers are facing the same challenges. How do I better understand customers' needs? And how do I deliver the promise to my customers? Let me give you another example. Okay. So as you may know, SAP operates the largest B2B trading network in the world.
Yes.
When COVID happens, most companies' supply chain were disrupted, right? And what we did is we open up and provide complimentary access to companies of our trading network. So if you are a company and you're not sure who can I sell to or who can I buy to, you can, within 5 minutes, log in and register in the network and start engaging the millions of buyers and suppliers in the network. That is just an example of how the network economy is solving, problem posed by COVID-19.
Right. Okay. And you, in the beginning, you talked about how there's 40% of businesses in Southeast Asia who is adapting the wait and see approach. Right. And we understand that, we talked about the changes that they need to make and whatnot. But why is it necessarily a bad thing? Why is it necessarily a negative thing to adopt the wait and see approach?
Yeah. So if you wait and see, then you are missing out on the opportunities that the changes in market condition presents to yourself, right? So At the end of the day, the outcome that every business is trying to achieve is to achieve resiliency, to deliver profitability, and to act sustainably. But how do you do that if you are not able to respond fast enough to market changes? And you need to be able to turn inaction to action. And you need to be able to move from being a laggard to the winner. In short, from the 40% to the 60%.
Right. And the 60 other percent that in the survey, 60 other percent businesses are, at least in some way or form, trying to make changes and adapting into the new situation.
Yes, definitely. And that is the 60% that are able to take actions, pivot their business, and innovate and transform.
Okay. And so throughout the last, let's say 4 to 5, 6 months or so, whenever we look into the news and whatnot, we see all these news about COVID. All we see is all these negative news about COVID. What's it doing to the economy? What's it doing to our health systems and whatnot? Maybe you can give us a little bit of good news regarding businesses in Southeast Asia. How do you think Southeast Asia is performing compared to maybe the rest of the world? And do you think Southeast Asia is one of the fastest growing regions in the world?
I think the good news is at your doorstep. Just look at Indonesia. So countries throughout the world are facing a decline in their GDP growth. Most countries are facing a contracting economy. The reason Asian Development Bank estimates says that Indonesia's GDP growth is expected at 2.5% this year, and it will double next year. That is excellent news. And Southeast Asia remains one of the fastest growing market for SAP globally. So we are very excited about next year. I personally think next year will be the year of Indonesia.
Right. Oh, we certainly do hope so. We're coming into, I think it's the third quarter right now. We're hoping for the third and the fourth quarter is going to bump back up, and hopefully that will be our launching pad into 2021. Are you able to give us some insight into some of the sentiments that these business leaders have in Southeast Asia, maybe through the survey and whatnot?
If I were to summarize the sentiment in one word, and that is uncertainty, because nobody knows when COVID will subside and when the market will recover. But the point is to stop wondering when, but to act now. In order to be ready to reset for the rebound when the market reopens, again, the key message to businesses is you need to innovate and transform. And you can do it in a big way, or you can do it in a small way. Let me give you another example. We have a client, a Bangkok Glass in Thailand. It is a perfect example of small innovations, but solving, business critical problems. They have a number of manual processes that were proven to be impossible during COVID simply because employees can't go to office. And what they did is they deploy robotic process automation, and within a very short period of time, all employees are able to get the equipment that they need, the procurement and purchases that they need in order to function effectively. In short, to innovate and transform, you can always start small, but you have to start now.
Right. The sooner the better, most likely.
Exactly.
All right. Let's talk a little bit more about Indonesia. From the survey itself, were you able to see what are some of the thoughts and sentiments from Indonesian business leaders? What are they saying, and what are their sentiments?
Actually, there's a very good question. Out of the 6,000 over respondents, about more than 1,000 are from Indonesia. Wow. And I have a lot of colleagues and friends in Indonesia. If there's one thing I know about them, they will never give up. And look, coupled with the economy growth and recovery next year, I think we, SAP, we can't be more excited to be able to help our clients in Indonesia to get ready to reset for the rebound. Be ready when the market recovers.
And we also know that the government itself is also trying to help the economy to start back up again with their stimulus packages and whatnot, even though they are facing some difficulties in liquidating the stimulus. But with that in mind, do you have any comments on the Indonesian business?
I think the key thing is to really look into your business model. For example, during Forward Together 2020, one of the case studies we discussed is a company called BRICS Group in the United Kingdom. It's a very interesting story that everyone can relate to. So the BRICS Group, they are a leading food and beverages wholesalers. They sell to restaurants and supermarkets. They sell everything that a restaurant needs in order to produce the meal that their customer needs. And during COVID, guess what? All restaurants are closed. So instead of keep trying to sell to restaurants who are all closed, within a week, working with SAP, the BRICS Group managed to switch from selling to restaurants to selling to consumers. And thereby taking advantage of the changes in business condition, still leveraging their existing resources and their core strength in the F&B business, but to serve a different segment. Now, the same story applies no matter which industry you are and which country you are in.
All right, so it's about reimagining your business model and not necessarily just sticking to what used to work, but also figuring out what will work in the future with F&B and whatnot. Now that there's more people working from home, you're better off selling directly to the people who are at home.
Exactly, because everyone is cooking from home, everyone buys in bulk. So in short, the key message is innovate and transform despite the downturn.
What business sectors do you think that Indonesia has an advantage over other regions in Southeast Asia?
We focus on 25 industries globally as well as in Indonesia. But the reality is COVID-19 spares nobody, no industries, and no countries. Yes, different industries will be impacted to varying degree, but the lesson learned is still the same. If you need to be becoming an intelligent enterprise so that you can react to changes in market condition, you have to act now. The message we are giving to our clients and our partners is you need to do a couple of things. One, analyze the situation and figure out where are the risks and opportunities. And number two, focus on your employees whose well-being, whose emotional welfare are being. You need to be able to take care of them while they are working remotely. And third, look into your customer experience. Look at how your customer preference has changed and change your business model to deliver a better customer experience during COVID-19. And fourth, look into your supply chain. If your supply chain is disrupted, you need to build resiliencies from now on into your supply chain and find alternative suppliers. And fifth, look into your spend. Conserve cash, conserve capital, because you will need that in order to innovate and transform. Okay. So that is the key message to all the businesses.
Right. And I think that's a great message. But also, apart from like existing businesses that is already in Indonesia, we also know that there are a lot of people, there are younger people, older people who are trying to start their own business, right? And during this COVID-19 situation, what are your thoughts? What are your advice that you can give to some of these people who are thinking about starting their own business sometime soon?
Well, just like the saying, this economic downturn, is arguably the best time to innovate and transform and to launch large-scale digital transformation. To a startup, this is also the perfect time to look at new risks and opportunities that the market presents. So I would say, whether you are a startup or you're an established company, the need is the same. You need to be ready for the changes when the market opens. And you can start small, you can start big, but you got to start now. Innovate and transform.
All right, great. we also we talked a little bit about 2021, right? And we do agree that there are some aspects to it, there are some factors to it that makes it that we think is advantages for businesses in 2021. But we also know that there are there are tensions between U.S. and China at the moment. There's also Brexit happening, and we'll be seeing more and more of it, I think, in 2021. What are your thoughts on that, and how do you think that's going to impact Southeast Asian businesses?
Yeah. And our advice to businesses is, again, focus on the fundamental. In fact, the result of the survey tells us that the most important organizational priorities, from the respondents are business transformation, enhancing customer engagement, and making business process more efficient. So I would say focus on these three priorities and be more agile, be more resilient, and be ready, be ready to reset for the rebound.
From the survey and from the event, the online events that you recently had, is there any more insights? Is there anything, any more advice that you could probably share with us?
Yes. In fact, as I mentioned, we focus on 25 industries. So one of the interesting learnings you can get when thousands of participants come together from different industries is what you can learn from one industry to another. Let me give you an example. In the manufacturing sector, you have this concept of digital twin. That means you have a physical process, logistics, supply chain, or manufacturing process, and you model that in the digital world, and thereby be able to control and make changes through the digitally. Now, the same concept could very well be applied in other industries, such as retail or in customer engagement. So the key is keep an open mind and learn from each other, because the lines between industries are blurring. The market is changing so fast. There will be new categories of business emerging before you know.
And can you give us a little bit, tell us a little bit more about, as you said, like SAP deals with 25, you deal globally in 25 different sectors, industry sectors. What are some of the things that SAP has done to help these different businesses?
Yes, in fact, we have a website that provides a range of complementary tools for our client, free of charge. One of them is, for example, we provide a tool that allows our client to do remote pulse check on their employees, on their suppliers, on their customers, so that when we are all locked down in our home, we will be able to still collect experience data, what our employees feel, their emotion, their beliefs, their opinion on things, and be able to respond accordingly and make sure they are fully equipped and they are trained and their needs are met so that they remain productive. And there are many other examples, of tools that we provide, in the site.
Before we close the interview for today, is there anything else that you would like to say or give to our viewers?
I think the key message from SAP is this: we need to turn inaction to actions. If you are in the 40%, we need to move to the 60%, because in the downturn, the key is to innovate and transform so that you are ready to reset to the rebound when the market recovers. And you have to do it now. Don't hesitate.
One last question. To move from that 40% to that 60%, we need to be able to make changes, right? And not necessarily just adopt the wait and see. But how significant should the change be for you to be considered in the 60% and not the 40%?
To some extent, the change is one of mindset. Some companies, some business leaders are taking the wait and see approach because they are just overwhelmed with the uncertainties. But the key is to take control. The key is to go out there and find out what is your customer telling you, what are the changes in the market condition, and then try to internalize those changes and figure out how you would pivot your business. Now, let me give you an example.
Right.
I have a client who is in the gaming industries, and they have brick and mortar retail business, and they have online business. Now, because of COVID, brick and mortar retail is totally shut down, but the gaming and online commerce business is booming. So what would they do? They double down their investment in e-commerce capability, and they'll be fully ready when the market recovers. Again, be ready to reset for the rebound. That will be key to our survival.
For the economy in Southeast Asia to start again, for it to have this jump start again, and not just, it doesn't necessarily just rely on the consumers to, we need to start going out and start buying again, but businesses also need to start thinking, rethinking again, reimagining their business models, start thinking about the changes they need to make when the market finally recovers again, so they don't lag behind and they can still compete with all these different businesses in Southeast Asia. Mr. Khor, thank you so much for joining us today. We hope that you have a good day, and thank you so much again.
Thank you, Jeremy.